What's up, everybody? It's RJ Levy-Chin. I'm here with Nate and Naya. This is the Old
You're
Milk slash Co podcast, The Cat. This is our second preseason episode, so we're gonna get right
Yeah.
into some of our stuff.
no
So we're gonna
cap.
be doing the top decade list for y'all. Starting with big and impactful moments. So Naya, you want to get into that?
Yeah, no, I just think that it's so crazy because when you say big and impactful moments, we're talking about like of the decade. So it's just crazy. But we're gonna wrap it up for y'all, and that's what we're here to do. So the biggest thing about biggest and most impactful moments of this decade. First we said Control by Big Sean. And okay, so when I first heard it, I didn't recognize it. And then once I played, I was like, okay, I've heard this before, but I don't think I've ever actually sat down and actually listened to it. You know how when you hear music, like, but that's different when you listening to it. So I finally sat down and
hmm
listened
Yeah.
to it, and it went hard. It really did. I don't even think still now, I don't think I like got it all in. I gotta go back and listen to it like probably six more times.
Believe
I
me,
think
like as much as I've listened to that song, I still feel the need to go back and listen to it because Big Sean and Kendrick throughout their verses just drop gems like back to back to back. It's just like an overload of bars. It's like amazing. It's really like one of the best songs of the decade.
And I think what's crazy about the song is just like how it changed the competitive nature of hip hop. I
hmm
think that a lot of artists were just kind of trying to stick to themselves and not be dealing with a lot of stuff. But when Kendrick called all those people out, I think that it ruffled a lot of feathers and changed hip hop for
Mhm.
the better, at least.
Yeah.
Definitely agree.
All right.
Definitely
And
made hip
So,
hop
do you
into
think
a
that was the
more
selling point
competitive
for
space.
sure?
yeah, it was a turning point for sure.
But
For
Definitely.
so
sure. For sure.
definitely Control. So Control's on the list. And next we have Drake. Like just
Yes,
Drake.
Drake
Yeah.
has just been in like so many beefs, like from the big ones with him versus Meek Mill, and even to the small ones with Drake versus Joe Budden. Like Drake has just
hmm
been a lightning rod for beefs,
hmm
and honestly, some of these beefs have been some of the most impactful moments when we talk about Drake dissing Meek Mill on back to back and Pusha T dissing Drake on the story of Adidon, like just
Yep.
like seeing that lyrical warfare go back and forth is truly a
Mhm.
spectacle.
I also think
I
that it's
think
important to note that Drake is Spotify's most played artist of the decade, and that just kind of goes to
mhm.
show that the type of impact that he had just on the music landscape in general, and how many people enjoyed his music, which is his goal.
Yeah. And speaking of that, is like you said, is the accolades kind of just wow me because he's like the most Grammy nominated or something like that now. More than the Beatles. Grammy
Most
Yeah,
selling.
yeah. No,
most
he
selling.
has
Okay.
most hits like on the top 10 charts or something like that.
Most hits. Most hits.
Yeah,
No, I could have sworn
Yeah.
he has like no, it's definitely an award though for sure. He has like the most Grammys now, more than the Beatles. I remember that. He's like
Nah,
one of the
because he
most
don't have
awarded
that
not
many
something.
that.
Grammys. He don't have that
He
many
don't
You
have that
don't
many
think
Grammys.
so?
Grammys.
I'm gonna get
No, he
back to y'all
doesn't.
on that
Yeah.
one, but I'm gonna get back to
I'll
y'all.
look it up. I'll look
But
it up. I'll look it up for you.
Yes,
but
please do,
see,
RJ.
but I will say like hits and everything, and it was just like when you think about Drake, there's not a song that I don't know that's been on the number one. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't a Drake song. I can count more number ones from Drake than I cannot kind of thing.
Here's
So.
the record. Here's the record.
Mhm.
Drake's Scorpion album set a record by posting 7 simultaneous singles on Billboard's top 10. That toppled
Bet.
the Beatles' record of 5 singles set in
There you go.
1964.
Okay, bet. Mhm.
I
That's
got
that's
more
also
slaps than the Beatles.
Crazy. Right. I got more
it's also
slacks than
truly
the Beatles. That's crazy.
amazing
Put in a song, bro.
spectacle to see that as well, just because just think about having 7 songs off of one drop in the top 10 at once.
Wild.
Like
Yeah.
it's so like some artists who are just celebrated across the board don't even have one song in the top 10 of the Billboard charts in their
Uh,
career, and he just has 7 in
so
one
yeah,
project. That really
yeah,
shows
one
like
project.
Wild.
the amount of stats that he puts up time in and
Yeah,
time
Yeah,
out every single project.
for sure. No. Drake
and
is
then we got
wild. And then that
you
brings
know,
us
a Old Money collaborator,
mm,
Nicki Minaj versus Cardi B. I mean, I think that this beef was very
A
big for
lot of
hip
things.
hop. They needed to see that. I think that it also kind of created the movement for the women in rap to kind of come together and band together just in general. But I also think that the spectacle of two titans like that, you know, old versus new, in my opinion, kind of going against each other at that time was a real spectacle to watch.
I would say honestly, truly, I agree, but I disagree in the fact that I don't think the world needed this. Like, I truly believe that this is all kind of a setup to not necessarily pin women against women, but it's like it becomes people start caring, we start being more interested when it's messy and when it's about women. I feel like without that, it kind of like, people pay attention, but obviously when it's like catty or whatever, then people want to be more invested. I think honestly, truly, to get a little dirty, I think people get off on seeing women going batshit at each other. So
I
I don't necessarily think the
mean,
world needed it, but I do think
from
I
for
like the fact that the battling whatever made them have put out good music. I'll say that much.
I understand what you're saying, but I do think that Drake and a lot of people elsewhere are an example. We like drama. Hip hop likes drama, and I
Mhm.
think that
Yeah, for sure.
women, for women, we hadn't seen two artists at that level, and I think that when you get artists at that level, you kind of expect them to butt heads in a certain way. I think because they're,
Mhm.
especially New York rap. There's not a lot of people that are. They don't do a lot of collaborations in New York because you know how it is. It's a big competition. It's a dog eat dog world, especially in New York City. And I think that that energy is what created the feud. I think that
Mhm.
those two people didn't like each other, and I don't think that I think that they respected each other, which also kind of created that because I think that Nicki Minaj is also a person that wants her chips. And I think that Cardi B is one of those people that feels very self made. And when those two types of people come together, there's definitely going to be clashing. And I do think that the media played it up, but I think that it was more, hip hop wanting to see the competition and they wanted to crown a queen. And I think
Mhm.
there's a bigger issue for me with that because I think that it's just
Yeah,
not that big of a deal.
absolutely.
Also, I think that when you even like when you're listening to their music and how they go about with their execution in their music, they're not really very similar. Literally, the only similarity between the two of them musically is that they're both women in hip hop. And
Mhm.
that being said, like when you don't really have like another, I guess before Meg Thee Stallion really came out, another person that you could say is on Nicki's level lyrically, and also another person who's on Cardi's level in terms of making hits and having an amazing album. Um, you just take the two people who are the closest to each other and you just put them together. However, I will say that I do think that this beef started. Um, it was a self inflicted beef because you can see how just like over time they would send shots at each other back and forth, and eventually it just got to a point where it was just everything just had to come out of the bag at that
I
point.
feel that
And
too.
that's what just like made the beef so nasty, just like everything being exposed. But we
I
take
True.
that, which is honestly one of the most polarizing beefs of the decade, and we transition to polarizing artists. So I guess first we have to start talking about Takashi 69. RJ, do you want to go first on that?
All right, so the most polarizing artists, we got Takashi, of course, New York City rapper. I think all New York City rappers are polarizing, but I think that the way that Takashi kind of disrespectful guy to so many people, as well as the whole snitching thing, I think both the way that he came in and the way that he came out was one of the biggest spectacles we've seen in the last 10 years, but also just the music too, because it wouldn't matter if the music wasn't good, but the fact that he was so successful while he was shitting on everybody and getting all of this disrespect. I mean, I really think that Takashi stuck out like a sore thumb when we're talking about the events of the decade.
Yeah, I love the topic, which is like polarizing, because to be honest, as stupid as I agree a lot of the things he done, I genuinely do like Takashi, to be honest. I disagree with a lot of the things he does, but I think there's something about him, the fact that he really just stand by what he does. I can't really be mad at him for that. And because I'm not mad at him for that, and then he puts out good music behind it, kind of just shows me like, he can do what he want. You can do what you want when you popping, and he did exactly that. And for everybody that said he couldn't, he did anyway. And he almost beat the internet. Like that's
Honestly,
hard to do.
that's really funny because there was like so many people, like so many of his fans were like, when you ask a Takashi fan, why are you a Takashi fan? They would literally say because he's undefeated. And for a while, he really was. I mean, obviously, we're at a point now where he was obviously arrested and all that stuff went down. But until that point, he was really undefeated. He had so many beefs going on from so many places. He was honestly from at least from when he started getting clout in late 2017 to when he was arrested ultimately in 2018. he was really the most entertaining rapper because his music was great, and also just all the extracurricular things that he would participate in outside of music also just made him such a person where eyes are just immediately drawn to him.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I mean, I think that that's the thing, is that he was entertaining, which brings me to my next person. I mean, I think that he was polarizing in a way that wasn't necessarily entertaining. It was a lot more, felt like a train crash or something like that. Kanye, I
Yeah,
mean, you can't really say polarizing and not mention Kanye. I mean, he's probably was the most polarizing
Mhm.
artist
if
in the
you look
2000s as
up
well.
if
Yeah.
you look up polarizing, a picture of Kanye's right there, honestly. Kanye is simply one of the most interesting people, period, like of all time, like
Mhm.
Yeah,
ever.
I don't
Just
disagree
like
with that.
seeing his switch from George Bush doesn't care about black people to supporting Trump is super amazing. Super confusing as well. From just how now he wants to make secular music. He wants to make gospel music and things of that nature, and not really make the music of old. I believe he even mentioned talking about redoing all his old music to reflect his Christian values, quote unquote. It's just super interesting, and it's just really super interesting. Like everything that Kanye says, he seems to believe, and I don't know. I honestly don't know what to do with this man or where to put him.
yeah, it's a trip. It's a trip.
And I think he
What?
definitely does that on purpose. And especially because one thing I will not take away from anybody, and especially Kanye per se, just because he's so polarizing, is people's ability to be a free thinker. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, I stand by, do what you want. And, if that's what you honestly truly believe in your heart is right, and plus for it to be so polarizing that you have the balls to do it, there must be really something that you believe in it. And so for that, I respect you for it. And then
I
it
I
gets to the
agree. I agree with that to an extent. However, one thing I will say is that there's a lot of people that Kanye hurt by giving his cosign to the quote unquote president right now, impeached
I don't
president as
disagree with
such.
that, absolutely. But what I'm
And
saying is
when
that he
you're
made a
doing that,
decision though, regardless of how
but
other people felt, he had to make his own
but what I'm
decision.
saying
That's what
is
people
that
don't understand. He don't be making decisions for everybody else, understanding that everybody else might be affected. But the man has to make his own decisions based on how it works out for him. Like, you have to think about that too.
What I'm saying is that when you get to a certain place in superstardom, when you become the face of one of the faces of
Mhm.
hip hop, one of the faces of black culture, you need to understand the level of importance that you hold and how much weight your word holds with
Mhm.
that. So once you get to that spot, you're not just representing yourself anymore. You're representing hip hop. You're representing some of the black community and other people who fit in where they fit in. And for him to support Trump like that really kind of made it seem like a black cosign in terms of black people support Trump, which is simply not true for the most part.
Mhm. Right.
And it's just like a no it's just a idea of knowing where you are and knowing your place. And this is not to say like, oh, know your place, like shut up. Like no, like know your place, Kanye, and speak up for those people who can't speak up for themselves, because that's literally one of the things that you prided yourself on doing for your
Mhm.
whole entire career until we've gotten to this point. So the sudden switch is certainly puzzling to me.
Mhm.
Yeah, he. I mean, I love Kanye. He's one of my favorite artists. But I've never had to question my own, morals and things like that when it came to an artist that I liked, and Kanye put me in that position. But the last but not least, I want to talk about someone who I think is polarizing because his talent is there, but the way that the community views him is definitely weird. Logic.
That's a word for it.
It's
Yeah.
Hmm.
it's it's odd. I can't. I haven't. How Eminem got the respect. I mean, I don't necessarily want to straight up compare them, but I think that the skill set is similar, and the way that black people just do not like Logic and do not allow Logic to be anything a part of the culture, I think shows that there is a nagging thought about him among the community.
Yeah, Logic is simply interesting. I feel like before I couldn't understand why he didn't wasn't really getting that much respect. Like his first three albums were amazing. First three albums, Under Pressure, The Incredible True Story, and then Everybody. I thought they were all amazing. They were all conceptual albums that told a story from front to back. Even the use of skits between them was like superb. However, since really Everybody, his use of his talent has simply fallen off a cliff, and you see him now simply just making music just to make music, not really putting any thought behind it, in my opinion. And that being said, it's really interesting to see the deterioration of someone who really could have been great.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
well, this is the most polar thing I can say about this topic is that I disagree in a sense. It's just like I'm not for Logic. I'm not saying that he's not a good artist because I think he is. I've had heard a lot of his songs and I think they're good. I think they're hits. I think that he does put out does really well. I would just say that I'm not a fan, and it's no more than that. Besides, just I wouldn't listen to it on my free time. I don't, you know, would care to be a part of that necessarily. But I do think he's a good artist, and I feel like if he was doing what he needed to be doing per se, we all wouldn't be like so iffy about it. So I think there's something that he's missing. The reason why like a lot of people are not so fucking with him because not that it could never be that way. It's just I don't think he's done anything yet to make us feel that way.
Honestly, with the trajectory of his career now, I don't think that time will come. Honestly,
I, and that would be very unfortunate for him.
yeah.
But yes, so going from like overrated to underrated, I would really say that of the decade, talking about our topic of the most underrated artist, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Lil Uzi,
it's got to be
Uzi.
Lil Uzi.
Lil Uzi Vert, man.
Uzi. I just
I just think that he should be bigger than he is. I think that he's been
yes.
stifled by his label. I think
Ugh,
a lot of it is just his label trying to milk him for as much as he is. But I really think that if he was given the reins, man, he would be the biggest. I mean, he would be the biggest artist and then some. I think that he would, even be on a Drake type level.
Um, Honestly, Lil Uzi's success really interests me because and since his last album, well, his first album, Love Is Rage 2, dropped in 2017, that was August of 2017, he's only really dropped like four songs, that being New Paddock, Sanguine Paradise, New That's a Rack, and his last song, which is now number 5 on Billboard right now, The Future Shuffle 2020. Just like being able to drop four songs in 2 years and still being one of the top five artists, at least in that trap category, or that emo rap category, wherever you put Lil Uzi, is super impressive to me, and that just shows how much star power he has.
right. The
Right.
fact that we've been talking about Lil Uzi right now is wild to me because he definitely, like you said, earlier, should be bigger than what he is, and the fact that people underestimate him to me is foolish, foolish.
I think that
But yeah,
he will prove himself in this next decade, and I think that once he gets out of this trash, whatever deal he's in right now, I think that he's just going to be one of the most prolific artists we've ever seen. So I'm very excited to see that.
for sure. And then outside of that, I would also say, and you guys can tell me what you think about this, but Tory Lanez. I think Tory Lanez is underrated, and not because he's
Okay.
not like
Yeah, you
at
do
his
like
peak or so.
you like Tory Lanez.
Let me talk about it. Facts. Because I feel like he's, recommended as an artist. I think people respect him as an artist, but I feel like sometimes people might not give him the credit that's due because people might say he only make, little remixes or little samples or whatever. But let me tell you something about them samples. Them shits are bops. And they hit and they give you exactly what you want. I just think he does it for literally for
I
his
mean,
fans. And
if
that's what
I'm
he
being
does
honest though,
good.
I honestly think that because they kind of flow in between two genres in the same way, I would definitely say Chris Brown is a more underrated artist than Tory Lanez
Okay,
for
you can't even
sure.
put Chris Brown and
Ever since
underrated
the
in the
Rihanna
same
thing
sentence.
happened, I genuinely think that he's still underrated to this day.
What?
Honestly, I'd agree with that. I think
Really? I'm
Chris Brown
intrigued.
should honestly be one of the top three artists on the planet right now.
Every year, bro.
If we're really thinking about what
I'm
this man
hearing
can
you.
do, he
I'm
Bro,
should
he's the
hearing it.
black
honestly
just
be one of
he
the
should have been
top
the black Justin
three.
Bieber. He should have been. He should have been the black version of Justin Bieber.
Honestly, I remember when he was first coming out in
Fact.
like '07 and like around '07 when people were basically saying he's the second coming of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he was like
in
16
that
at the
case.
time.
And so that being said, like he should be so much bigger than what he is right now. Not saying that he's not super big right now. Obviously,
Mm,
anyone would kill for Chris Brown's
right,
career to this point.
mm,
Period. But I definitely think that his pedestal should definitely be higher at
right,
elevated, excuse me, at least two
right,
tiers.
right.
I definitely think he fits into
You
that
know what I
tier
think
one
is so
category.
crazy? I think his mess ups really did like hurt him in that area only because I feel like he's too human. Like we've seen him make too many mistakes for us to forgive him, kind of thing. Because when you think about Michael, like a lot of shit happened to people, but they always kind of forgave. You know, he didn't have that level of forgiveness. So for that, that probably made it hard for him. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. Hmm. And then not only that though too, I would say, and lastly, Doja Cat. I think people just not really tapping into her yet. If you haven't listened to Hot Pink, go listen to Hot Pink. You probably heard Juicy featuring Tiger on the radio. And then if you haven't heard anything else, what's my favorite one? Which is just like the cat. Dang it, I can't even think about it right now. But go listen to Hot Pink. It's fire.
I think Doja Cat is definitely interesting. I wouldn't necessarily think of her as an underrated artist this
Yeah,
Hmm.
decade.
no,
I'm
no
really
name is more
interested.
underrated than she is.
I'm No Name I'd see, but
Tyler the
Hmm.
I
Creator is
definitely
also very
Tyler the
underrated. I
Creator.
think.
I'd agree
Yeah.
with that as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
But with but Doja Cat, I think she has
J.
an
Cole might even
incredible
be underrated.
future ahead of her, and I'm just interested to see what she does in the 2020s.
Touche.
I'm excited. All right, so what we got next? So we also got influential artists. What you think about that, Nate?
Well, when we're talking about influence, first of all, I have to give a shout out real quick to Chief Keef. Chief Keef really is one of the pioneers of the current state of hip hop right now. He
Sosa.
like from I Don't Like to Love Sosa to even Finito, like Chief Keef's music from 2012 and 2013 is still being played everywhere.
Yeah.
That being said, let's transition into talking about Future and the Migos and
The
really
Atlanta
also
trifecta. The Atlanta trifecta.
yeah, also Young Thug as well. Shout out to Gucci Mane as well, because without Gucci Mane, all this wouldn't have been
They
possible
would not be
as
here.
well.
Yeah.
But
Real
just like
talk.
Facts.
talking about like all of just like literally everything they've done, Future Migos and Young Thug, from ad libs to just like making flows cool, make it just like everything they've done, just that impact and that sound, Atlanta sound that everybody wants to do now. We have to tip our hats to Future Migos and Young Thug.
Period. I agree.
I agree. And then we also got, I think, ASAP Rocky. I think ASAP Rocky is an underrated in his influence in the sense of everybody rocking designer clothes, going to Europe and kind of adapting to the Europe style and all of those things, as well as Asian style. I think that ASAP Rocky really brought that to the forefront of mainstream music. Dressing like that, as well as just kind of the streetwear thing. I think that Kanye West introduced hip hop to that. But I think the one that really made it a mainstream wave was ASAP Rocky and just the ASAP Mob, especially just their influence on Lil Uzi as well as Playboy Cardi. And a lot of the success, the little success that they've had, has been enough to carry them because of their influence and impact on the culture as a whole. But impact is different. So
Hmm.
I think that impactful artists who really kind of changed the way that hip hop has been seen as a culture to the rest of the world. I think that Kendrick has to be on the top of that list. I think that he brought
Absolutely.
excellence and real people paying attention to what is being said again,
Hmm.
as well as the idea of what a cohesive project could look like.
Right.
I definitely agree with that. I think Kendrick, first of all, every single project that Kendrick dropped, from Section 80 to Good Kid, Mad
Absolutely.
City to Pimp a
Yep.
Butterfly to Damn,
Yep.
has been a pure work of art and are
Correct.
classics. All four of them, in my opinion. He's really just 4 for 4 with classics, and that's something that we really um have not seen in hip hop that
Yeah,
much. He always has something to say. He always gives us a new sound. He always gives us a new flow. He always changes his voice, like just like everything. There's literally nothing this man can't do. And that being said, he's really just like a Swiss Army knife of just hip hop talent while still staying true to the culture and saying something, which it should be applauded.
Right. I agree. And
yeah,
I remember I think a lot of the times, and when I think about Kendrick, I just say like literally a poet, like like some people, or like even like a lyricist. Like some people are rappers, but we always said that Kendrick was a lyricist, and you literally like to listen and understand what the hell he was saying because every bar you just mind blown. And people, I remember people saying at the time he had like the likeness of Tupac, just for people to actually be able to hear, listen to what you gotta say. You actually being able to say something that's smart, important, that hits home in a different kind of way. So I definitely think Kendrick has that, lyrical ability that like just really blows him out the water, which makes him, on this list.
Yeah, but even and I think on another level, and the reason why I give it to this man is because of the impact of Atlanta on hip hop and how the Atlanta just changed the whole scope of hip hop and just really had a reign for a very long time for the good half. Future. I mean, I think that the ability to cry on a song about the drug that you do was silently fueled by Future, as well as just not just sound, cadence, and the amount of passion that you put into your song. I really think that Future showed the hip hop mainstream how to do that.
Honestly, I think Future is definitely someone who we can look back on and say is purely representative of this decade from at least this generation from 2015 to now because his mindset is just so exhibited when we think about the problems that some rappers have with dealing with drugs and things of that nature. I remember in an interview for I believe his album The Wizard, he talked about how he was scared to tell his fans that he had stopped drinking lean,
Mm,
and because like um that's just such a that's just such a big thing for that Future by. I'm sorry, I'm losing words, but that's the reason why that's one of the reasons why people know of Future because of like how much he sings and raps about the drugs that he takes and things of that nature. um I think also like if we're just like saying like real talk, certain rappers have died recently, like Juice World,
mhm,
rest in peace to him. um and one thing that we see also Lil Peep, rest in peace to Lil Peep as well. Also, one thing we've seen as a consistent across the board with these rappers is them rapping about their drug use and rapping
mhm,
about their depression and things of that nature. So that being said, it's kind of hard when you think about wow, I was really just jamming out to this song about this dude really rapping about how
mm,
sad he is and how he uses drugs to heal the pain and he
mhm.
died because of drugs. Like thinking
Right.
about that is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Future
And
has been
not
one of
too
those
long
people.
ago, Juicy J even, he made a public apology saying that if he ever like, encouraged anybody to use drugs, he said, I'm sorry. And I thought
Yeah,
that just meant a lot in hip hop just to be able to acknowledge that and make a big step.
agreed. But I say all that to say, Future, hopefully Future is doing better. We know that like there have been times for Future where he's gone through some tough things. The man literally released an album this year called Save Me, which is super scary when you think about the possible implications of
Mm,
what that
I
project
mean, yeah.
could mean for him.
mhm, mhm.
So just honestly, like Future's a legend. He's one of the greatest to ever do it, and we hope to be able to hear more music from him in the future.
And I know that it was already said, but I mean, Drake is just the impact of bringing emotions really at the
Mhm.
forefront of music. But
Oh,
also, I think that
tears.
he was one of the most versatile artists in hip hop we've ever
Mhm.
seen. And I think that
Mhm.
we're going to start seeing that. I mean, we already are seeing that versatility kind of be the forefront of whether you're a good artist or not. And I think that, Drake was just really that guy that kind of put a lot of people on. But I mean, there's no way for me to talk about impact and forget about Drake.
100% agreed.
Two words to describe Drake are simply just adapt and dominance.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've seen him dominate this decade, literally from like
Mhm.
2010 to now. He's just dominated the whole decade in terms of
Right.
stats and putting out hits after hits after hits. And one thing that's consistent with Drake across the board is that he knows how to adapt to the new sound. So we
Mhm.
see him like from the beginning when he started off being a rapidy rapper, to now where he's essentially kind of at least on his last project Scorpion, he kind of took the trap style and adapted that to him. We've just seen him be versatile throughout his entire career, and honestly, that's probably the reason why he's never going to go away unless he really wants to go away,
Right.
Yeah,
unless
and
it's
I
his
think
choice.
yeah, it's just so corny because I'm sitting here, I'm really thinking about it, y'all. Like, it's gonna sound crazy when I say, but this he used to be on freaking Degrassi. Like, that just blows my mind to me. He said at the one day, I don't know if anybody actually watched it, but he used to like be a rapper on the actual show right before it ended. I was like, okay, he got a little bit of bars. When I tell you my life,
Uh,
like I was shook as fuck when he popped up as an actual rapper. I said, oh shit, nigga got legs, they don't know how to act. So I just think the fact that he just came out the water, some boy from Canada that came to, came here and started running the game is absolutely beyond me. So I have to give Drake his props for literally just doing him and being at the level that he is. So, kudos to him.
I feel that, but I'm glad we're getting a "What a Time to Be Alive" too. But what are some
Mm.
projects that we never got, Nate?
That J. Cole Kendrick project, man,
Oh
that
my
Mm. Woo!
God,
that hurts
That
me
would have
bruh.
been
so much. It hurts my
fire.
soul to not have
Fire.
that.
Right.
It's
Fire.
actually kind of funny because I remember around like 2015 when 2014 Forest Hills Drive and To Pimp a Butterfly had came out. They actually Cole and Kendrick actually did this thing where they swapped beats and rapped over them.
Yeah, the Black Fridays.
Kendrick rapped over Black Friday. Kendrick rapped over the Tale of Two Cities beat, killed it. Oh my goodness. And Cole rapped over the All Right beat, also killed it. Just like showing their ability to rap on each other's projects. I thought those two would actually be singles for what would have been a J. Cole Kendrick project, but we unfortunately never got that. So I'm gonna hold my tears back and pass it on to RJ.
I mean, the Childish Gambino third rap album is one thing that I feel like needs to be talked about only because if you listen to, do you remember what's the name of the first one? It's not Camp, right? Is it Camp?
The
What
first
is it
the
called?
first album is Camp, I believe.
Yeah, so Camp, which had Bonfire and Heartless, as well as just a bunch of songs that were fire. And then because the internet honestly showed me that Childish had this talent and mind and brain about music that I wasn't really ready for. And the fact that, the
Interesting.
last album of his music career was, I'm not mad at Awaken My Love, but I do wish that I got a little bit more bars in there. I mean, Stone Mountain was also a crazy mixtape, and it was like an Atlanta vibe mixtape, and it was really cool. He has some of his best songs on there, like Candler Road, and I just wish that there were more verses, like Candler Road and just all the rap songs that he has. I really wish that we got a third album just of spitting bars.
Honestly, when Childish Gambino, I forgot what song it was, but it was definitely off Camp when he said, "Yeah, I'm killing you. Step inside the lines, then. Yeah, I'm Hove. If the O was the I instead." I was like, okay, this dude is different. Like
Mhm.
he's different. Also, another
Right.
Childish Gambino is I'm of the belief that if Childish Gambino continuously dropped projects like maybe like every 2 years, like consistently, he would be a top 5 rapper right now
Mm.
because his flow was just he knows how to flow, and his wordplay was just so amazing as well. Like on another song, I always forget the names of these songs, but I never forget the lyrics. He said, "I made the beat retarded, so I'm calling it a slow jam." Like just that
Wow.
wordplay and that one line is just
Mm.
so
Yeah,
fire.
he's a
Yeah.
real
Need
comedian
more of
on
that.
all this
Yeah.
stuff, and I think that that shows, that he really is a funny guy, and he really is a smart guy. He has the ability to be witty like that. But I know
Wait, oh
you.
wait,
I know
because
you. What?
I wait, because I was
Go
saying it's funny that you say comedic because he literally was a comedian, and
Yeah,
I just think that, and the reason why I'm like so not super upset about Childish because I know we can't put him in one box. Like he might come back
you're
to
right.
music, like you never know. But like I knew this man was a genius even before Kanye did it. He made a visual album, like but not in like Lemonade, but like his actual own movie Guava Island. If nobody's seen it on Amazon,
Yeah,
featuring our goodness Rihanna, like
my
mind
favorite song. I'm
blown.
waiting for. I'm waiting for Saturday to drop. I'm still waiting for
I
Saturday
was,
to drop.
yeah, it was. I was like, that's crazy. You made a whole movie up, like album, like intertwined. It was crazy. So even before Kanye Jesus is King is kind of the same concept, and he just blew my whole mind with everything, storyline and all. And it was just like, yeah, beautiful. He's literally an artist. So like,
Also, I love Beyonce. The Beehive is gonna kill me for saying this, but are we ready to talk about how Childish Gambino low key killed Beyonce on some of those songs on Lion King, or
Don't
not
even.
yet?
We're not gonna do
No,
that. We're not gonna do
no.
that. We're not
Okay,
gonna do
all
that.
right. I'm
We're not gonna
sorry.
do
All
that.
right, goodbye, guys.
But I know you mad about this, man. The Playboy Cardi Lil Uzi project, bro. Where is it at?
Honestly, I don't even know. I don't even think they're friends anymore because on Twitter,
Mm,
someone asked Lil Uzi if he was still cool with Playboy Cardi, and he said no. Um, I don't even think we're gonna get that project anymore. If I'm being honest, if Uzi's not playing around, and it's really unfortunate and true that he and Playboy Cardi don't fuck with each other anymore. But man, what could have been? They have had so many good songs together. Shooter by Playboy Cardi featuring Lil Uzi. um looking is it looking yeah looking by Playboy Cardi featuring Lil Uzi. They're just like such a good
Woke up
balance
like
for
me.
each other.
Is that is
Hmm?
that is that one?
I think it's just
I'm
called
trying to think
Looking.
of, I'm trying to think of all of the ones that
And
they.
what should we call it? Woke Up Like This is another song that
Yeah,
they have
woke up
together.
like this. Woke up like this.
But like that tape would have been transformative for both of their careers, and
For sure.
unfortunately, doesn't look like we're gonna get
We
it.
may never get it. And then last but not least, man, the Watch the Throne too. I mean, I
we
just
know
think
why
that
that ain't happening.
man, I think that it would have been, another one of those projects where Kanye were two titans of hip hop, generationally titans of the hip hop, just came together, went away for a few months, and just generated out hits. I think that hip hop really misses that relationship in general. I mean, I think that Hove's. You can make an argument that Hove performs the best on a Kanye beat, and that
Mm,
Kanye beats produce Jay Z's biggest hip hop hits. Like you can really make an argument for that. And I think that hip hop, especially the whole mature 444 and things like that, Kanye West not
mhm,
being able to be a part of that, I definitely think is a big miss for hip hop for sure.
right. No, I 100% agree, and I feel like, man, if they ever were to, because they were caught together at an event, and they were very cordial. They spoke, they shook hands and all that stuff. So I think there might be some type of relationship, rekindling with him, at least man to man for sure. And I wouldn't believe it for a day if you told me that Jay-Z doesn't miss Kanye, or that
Yeah,
he wouldn't have, loved to have made an album with him in between time. Could have made more hits, you know what I'm saying? So I don't believe that for a day, but I feel like, they did what they had to do at the time. They thought it was a good decision, but I definitely for sure say that would have been a ridiculous ass album for sure.
yeah, for real. All right, well, that's all we have for y'all this episode. We
For
got
the
some
decade.
articles. Yeah, for the decade, not even for the episode. I didn't even think about that, man. Check out the articles talking about all of the top 15 lists that we put out. We put out albums, as well as I think we put out artists, and
Hmm.
we did make a list for top 15 songs. We might be able to get that to you guys soon. But anything you guys want to say to the people before we get off?
Spread love, be yourself, just chill, good things to come to you.
Facts. I
Uh,
say 2020, no apologizing. Do what you want when you pop in, and listen to new music. Get wild, get reckless. Don't be regretful, and just be about your business. Stay focused. 2020. Period.
and I would say yes, stay real focused, stay real humble, stay determined, as well as make sure that you take care of everything that you need to do. Don't wait, don't slack, just do it, man. It's gonna be so much easier if you just allow yourself. Get rid of all that stress and get rid of things. Nip them in the bud. All 2020, we taking over, we dominating. You know what it is. Oh, milk.
Later,
Oh, milk.
y'all.